Hey, everybody. Welcome. Hi. I said hello. My name is Noni Lamar. I am the EP and one of the incredible producers on the short Birdie, which is premiering tonight. Who's coming? We'd love to welcome you here. We'd love to thank our partners who made this possible at Sundial. We want to thank our associate producer, Devin. Devin Wave. Everyone say thanks, Devin. Thanks, Devin. We really wanted to bring this conversation. You know, we were kind of overachievers this year. We got us short into this incredible festival, and we also decided we wanted to build community. So we invited all of you out here to talk to these incredible women about their films and talk about craft and talk about identity and talk about where we are right now. And so I just wanted to welcome all of you. Thank you all for coming. I wanted to also say that one of the things me and Praise is one of my incredible creative collaborators and director of Birdie, have been talking about this week is the necessity for love and courage at this time. And so I just kind of wanted to set this conversation in this, you know, we all been at Sundance for a minute, whoever's been here, and the world is on fire, right? And I've been really kind of contemplating what does it mean to be an artist at this time, to be at this festival. I've been having a great time. I've met like half of the people in this room, it seems like already, you know? But it's really important at this time that we center love and we center courage. And I believe that women do that uniquely. You know, we're born to do those things. And we constantly give birth, not only to children, but to children as ideas, right? Children as films, children as music, as books, as craft, okay? So I want to introduce Erica Chidi, author, strategist, producer. She's going to be our host for this evening. And enjoy the conversation. One last thing, after this, we're going to have a party across the street at Grub Steak. Come join us. It's a little mixer.
Little something.
Grub Steak, little mixer for an hour. Free drinks, free food. Also sponsored by Sundial, so thank y'all.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. How's everyone feeling right now? I heard you say safe, Cheryl.
Yes,
I know.
I'm in my room with my people.
I know. That's something I wanted to say even before we got started. How relaxing it feels to be in a room with people who look like you and who are trying to walk a similar path. So happy to have all of you with us. I need 1 second because it moved away from my notes. Okay, I already said thank you all for being here, but so these films are formally very different, which I thought was kind of the fun puzzle. I love to figure out puzzles. Was the fun puzzle about this panel, because traditionally you'll probably talk to a bunch of documentarians or you're talking to people who all made shorts, but there's a really beautiful blend of features and a doc and a short. But even though there's a difference in style and format, I found myself finding real interconnectivity between all of the work. And the one thing I kept coming back to was this notion of defiance. Just women that were really insisting on themselves, often quietly moving against what was considered normal or legible even. So I just want to kind of posit that as the first seed. And before I go any further, I'd love to have each of you introduce yourselves, share a little bit about your film, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. My name is B. Wangondu. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you. I also feel very safe here, man. Everybody, thank you for inviting me. Thank you. And to share our film. My film is about land and memory and legacy and the idea of pushing through, like push through fear, represent yourself. No one is coming to save us. Go, 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 go. Yeah, this is not about the group and the thing that's being done. This is about you and your capacity. And I'm very happy to be here and excited to have this conversation with these great women.
Beautiful. Would you mind telling us the name of your film?
The film is called Kikuyu Land. Kikuyu is my tribe. We have 42 tribes in Kenya. And 43rd tribe is the Americans.
Period.
Yeah. So when colonialists first landed in Kenya, the first place they went to was where I come from, where there's lush land, which means they settled. Yeah, and forcefully took that land, and now it's theirs, and now they're telling us what to do and employing my ancestors on their land. And the idea of trying to reclaim that and reclaim our story and reclaim identity is why I made this film. Thank you.
I'm Praise Odije Page, or DJ Page, if you care to really pronounce. My film is called Birdie. Birdie is a period short from my period enthusiast. It's a film about girlhood lived in this holding pattern where your adolescence is unfolding in the shadow of all these adult catastrophes that no one ever fully explains to you. It takes place in the 1970s, and it centers this 16-year-old refugee who's living in rural Virginia, Appalachia practically, with her mother and sister, and we follow them over a really tense couple of days as they're waiting to hear back if their father has survived the war. And without revealing too much, this refugee, another refugee, an older teenage boy, Wink, is brought into their home, and his presence kind of disrupts this fragile family dynamic that they're trying to hold on to, and reveals all these truths and feelings that they're trying to repress. I made this film as a sort of a callback to my own migration experience. So much of the film is laced with tension, and anyone who comes tonight will sort of pick up on that quiet tension that's present throughout the film. And I really wanted to capture what it feels like to live in limbo as an immigrant or a displaced person, and to be in this prolonged period of uncertainty where you're waiting for your life to start. And I really wanted to capture this feeling of restlessness and grief that many immigrants and refugees experience, kind of mourning this old life while they're trying to figure out what their lives are going to become, and how that's complicated by the already confusing, experience that's being a teenage girl.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here. My name is Olive Nwosu, and I'm the writer and director of Lady, which premiered in the World Dramatic Competition section at Sundance. The film is about a female taxi driver in Lagos who gets roped into the underbelly of the city when her best friend comes back into her life, and she agrees to start driving a group of sex workers around town. It follows the beginning of radical friendship that forms in the group of women. It follows the healing that happens when women care for each other. It follows the youthful and desperate self-determination that Nigerian youth feel and want to express. And it's a portrait of Lagos as a contemporary metropolitan African city that can sit on the global stage.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Dunier. Thank you so much. I made this film called The Watermelon Woman many moons ago. Actually, 30 years ago. So all you youngins, thank you for bringing it back, because it was the youth, it was the cycles that really brought it back. But what I'm showing here is called Greetings from Africa. I made that before I made The Watermelon Woman, like literally right before The Watermelon Woman. And I was told by my producers, you need to make something that's not your video art, because I'm an artist. I was trained as an artist. I got my MFA in fine arts. And you need to make something that you can bridge you over into the sort of film world. So it's my Dunye Mentory version of Cheryl, and I play Cheryl once again. It's showing tomorrow in the Legacy short collections that are showing at some time. I don't remember. But you can see it if you need to see it. You can see it elsewhere. But I'm glad that you were here, seeing everybody else's work and holding space. Thank you.
So the first place I want to go is talking about interiority. I feel like all of these films look inward in a way that I think oftentimes as Black women, Black people, were not given the opportunity to do in real life. And so all of these films place the emotional and the intellectual inner world at the center of the story. And as I said, interiority feels like the primary meaning, and again, it leans into this idea of defiance. Why was that important to all of you, and why do you think that's important to just Black African filmmaking in general?
I'm African.
Yes.
No one is coming to save us. I mean, see what's happening with funding across the world. Like all these funds that came from America no longer in Kenya now. No one is coming to save us. Number one, in terms of funding. Number two, in terms of who we are, in terms of who I am. The conversation about loss of land or my own journey, let me just say, this film is also about me walking a journey, discovering that my grandfather worked with the colonialists. And that journey of almost reversing my identity. Like, wait, I used to think we were this, turns out we are this other thing. And I could choose to get stuck there, or I could choose to say, I'm gonna walk this journey and see who the heck am I, now that I know. So when I say no one is coming to save us, it means that you're gonna wake up and dig the dirt out and build the road and put the lights up, because it's not for me, it's for those who are inspired by me, those that are watching me. There's someone watching you all of the time. So in your stuck space, just know you're holding somebody else back. That's what I say to myself. So that's my perspective of my answer to that question.
I love that you framed interiority as courage. I want to create mirror moments. I think one of the most beautiful things about good film and literature is that it shines a little flickering flashlight on the indiscernible experiences that we have as human beings. And it's so annoying that we don't often get to experience that as Black women. And I think one of the most beautiful things is when you can, when you see a character do something that makes you blush a little bit, right? Because it's an experience that you didn't notice or didn't know that anyone else noticed. And I think it's really necessary. I think it's a part of the healing effect of humanization that we need right now. And I think the value of interiority is that, instead of creating something for some external gaze, I just feel like Black women deserve the gift of recognition. And that's what I want to do in my work.
Come on.
Yeah, I completely agree with these answers. It's about complexity as well, It's about allowing or insisting on our complexity. It's about putting us on the same pedestal as other characters that have been shaped in the past. For me, when you tell a story from the inside, it comes from, I really believe in the soul, and I believe that we all share a humanity despite of, and of course there is so much ugliness in the world, but when you touch soul, you can't go back. I really believe that. And once that happens, and once you humanize, you can't go back. That's why there's an insistence on dehumanizing in the first place, because it makes it easier to create law and use violence against, other bodies. And so for me, film is about connecting people. It's about insisting that there is a shared connection. And once you see that, something turns. I really believe that.
I look at myself like, what? So yeah, I mean, when I was coming up back in the day, I'm not gonna say what it was, but obviously you know, nobody looked like me. There was nothing in black cinema that looked like me. There was Spike and a few others. There was no lesbian or queer cinema that looked like me at all. I was like, do I exist in what's this representation in the world? So I had to make my own cinema, and I had to use my own body, and I had to not be afraid of that, right? So I put my body in all of my work, most of my work, and I'm not afraid. Once you are there, like, you can't take that from me. You can't take me from me. You can't take my stories from my stories, because I use my stories, and we all use a part of ourselves in there. We all use our bodies all the time in our work. And so it was really important for me to kind of get over myself, because there's a lot of fear in using your own body, a lot of fear. And that literally made me fearless, right? And you have to become fearless to birth and be in the world. So I did that, and I became fearless, and I continue to be fearless, because there's, once you open that door, there's another damn door downstairs. And you have to keep walking, opening doors, and keep on being fearless to go through them, no matter what. So making media matters, that we're doing here, making music, making dance, making whatever your craft is, because it puts you out in the world and makes you a cultural producer, which we all are in this room, and it continues to shed light, bring more people in, hear your song, hear your dance, and see your image. So let's continue to do that. I must say that I love that this is the African women panel. And, I'm probably I came over when I was very young. I was born in Liberia, Monrovia, Liberia. And so I'm African American, and that was a hard thing already in growing up in little Philadelphia. So that really, again, I made myself, and I made my own impact, and I still do. But I'm glad that others have seen that, and we're all running this together.
So
We honor you, Cheryl.
yeah, I mean, so much to say. So grateful for the path that you trailblazed, and it was so fun getting to rewatch Watermelon Women this week and thinking more about it. So I actually want to double click in and talk a little bit more about the body and embodiment, and kind of I would say a little bit more of in a lighter way, because I think for us, one of the most beautiful things about our community is how we dress, how we show up, our hair, adornment. And this is probably mostly directed at Cheryl and all of them, and Praise, but thinking about costumes. I was so taken by how everyone looked in the film. How do you think about costume and hair as a part of storytelling rather than just decoration?
It's a testament that we exist, that we existed. Like, one of the most interesting and frustrating parts of making this film was just thank you. The lack of visual records of this time. And I'm very familiar with what we wear in Nigeria now, but what were we wearing in the 70s? And why don't we see that in any movies? And I can't talk about this without shouting at my incredible costume designer and producer. Where is she, Yeti? Because it was really a process of excavating, and we couldn't find it on Google or Pinterest. We had to talk to family members and ask mom, do you have any pictures? It was such an interesting process. And so everything was intentional, what they wore, Birdie's hair and those braids, and just to say that again, part of this film, the joy of making this film was digging up this archive to say that we were here, we existed, this is how we looked, this is how we did our hair, this is how we dressed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked so much about costume and makeup and hair in the film because, again, Lagosians are stylish people. We have our style, and I don't know that people know that in the global audience in the same way. And so it's like these women love to dress up. They love to do their hair. They love to do their makeup. They look good. And what does that look like? How do we make them bold and make them fearless and make them beautiful? And but then also to dig deeper and start to critique the choices that we do make. Like why are we all wearing weaves? Why you see and deconstruct these women slowly. But always with honor, because we make the choices we make, and then we know better or we don't. And these were the conversations I was having a lot with Pat Eze, who's an amazing costume designer, and Joan Akuluza, who was hair and makeup. And they both actually style a lot of the Afrobeat musicians in Nigeria. So we were really drawing from that culture and celebrating our music, which feels like one of our biggest exports right now.
Cheryl, do you have anything to add?
Oh, yes. Okay.
You look
so
very fly.
Right now, I look fly now, right?
I know.
Okay. This is from
In the movie.
Mexico City. Okay.
We're gonna have you stand up.
Oh, we have a classic man right here. Okay. Anyway, we didn't have any money for our budget. We said, bring your clothes. What you got? That looks good. We might have a little piece to add this. You're supposed to be what? Your character? Okay. Turn around and, So a lot of it was about people who gave to the production. We got some stuff from a punk rock store in Philadelphia. In Greetings, I mean, I literally was just wearing what I had, right? Like that was the kind of filmmaking at that time. There was nobody was giving me money. There was no anything like that, nothing like that. But it was fly. It was literally fly. It was a little punk and stuff like that. So I had the right pieces. I had like 2 different sneakers on, and my head was shaved and all this and that. So that became an export right there, right? But I think the most powerful thing about something like the Watermelon Woman, which I'll talk about, not Greetings because it wasn't that significant, was the archive, right? And I had to go deep into the archive to really understand and create and recreate the Watermelon Woman's life. I created all those photos that showed in the Watermelon Woman. There were 92 photos that we had in the film. We had to style everybody to look like they lived the Watermelon Woman's life from 1907 till she died in the 80s. So we had to have outfits and places and locations and really create what that Black moment was many different times. Black, her moment in Hollywood playing, the mammy and the maid. We had to have the moment then she was not in Hollywood playing, this stylish Black woman in early, talkies and early cinema, and we had to create the truth. We had to make a fiction to point us back to the truth. And so we had to make it look real. And that was a lot of what was really powerful about it. And then also that you get to see me in like some sort of mini skirt or something like that, which I would never wear, but they gave it to me because it matched something else.
So, no clapping. No clapping for that. I saw that. Please don't clap for me and my skirt. So, moving in a different direction, but it definitely related, and I think with this question we'll kick off with you, Bia, because I'm really curious about this. So, colonialism and whiteness appear across these films at different dosages, and I particularly like the word dosage because you could decide how much or how little, again, as being the filmmakers. And so the dosages were sometimes very central, and then sometimes it was more peripheral. How did you decide when these power structures needed to be confronted directly, and when they were better left at the edges?
Honestly, there's no part of colonialism that required me to not go straight ahead and confront. Because for us, it's not just not just colonialism; it's also neocolonialism. That's our biggest problem right now. I don't know if we're not filming. Are we filming? We're not filming. I can't say this.
We are filming. We are filming.
Oh.
We can take it out. They can take it out. They can beat it out.
Can we cut it out if she?
Pause.
Yeah.
Okay, I do want you to, and I also feel like if you, you don't censor yourself, and also whatever you're going to share, just maybe lightly contextualize for people, because even for someone like me who I like exist off of information, did not know the unique situation that your family and what's happening in Kenya as well.
Yeah, it's a horrible state, the reason I was talking about cameras is because we are in a very risky space right now. We have a legal system that we put in place just to protect ourselves. I'm going to go home after this festival, but I'll quickly find a way to get like my European visas and everywhere else so that if anything happens, I can run off. Because when you talk about colonialism, all I can think about is neocolonialism. Our president just shipped the French, who've been kicked out of West Africa, to Kenya, putting up a whole new base. So when you talk about it's a painful conversation. And not only does he have the new base with the French, he also has given them immunity. This means if they did rape women like the British did, and I'm not talking about the British raping women in the 1900s, I'm talking about as late as 2013 and 2015 and 2022, and now we had one out of all of that, and there are many, we only have had only one getting prosecuted. So the French have seen that. They're like, no, you got to give us immunity. What do you think our president did? So it's painful. This film is out of pain. I don't have the luxury of do I confront or do I not confront. What the privilege I have of going to school, with being in spaces like this, interacting with people who are smart and can help me, people who are constantly training me, mentoring me, means then that I cannot keep quiet with what I know. So I don't have the luxury. Whatever it is, I'm going in.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak to that question?
Lady, I mean, you can't I don't think you can tell an African story about a city without speaking to the past. It's not possible. The concept of Nigeria as a country is a colonial concept, as we all know. And so I think contextualizing is exactly right. When you're introducing an audience to a world, where you start the story matters, so that they can understand what they're seeing. And so to tell the story even of a modern Lagos, you have to ask the questions of, why are so many people in poverty? Why is there so much conflict? And once you start asking the right questions, you always end up with the answer that the colonialists came and they took over a land and they put together people who didn't know one another and they extracted. And so though, to talk about the process, for me, making this film, we couldn't extract, and that was always front and center in my mind. How do you tell the story for a global audience, but how do you tell it differently from how resources have been taken from the country in the past? Who are you centering? Who is a stakeholder in this process? Who receives from it? And so to give some context, working with my actresses, making sure that throughout the process, they were well compensated, they were cared for, they are stakeholders in this film if and when it gets sold, making sure there's knowledge transfer between the local crew and the HODs, thinking about how you set up a formalized film system industry so that and I think this is good, that there should be more stories told on the continent that travel, but how do we build an industry and a system that honors local knowledge and is not just taking from it? These are the questions that I'm asking as I'm making my own films, and it's absolutely in response to this question of, who has taken from the continent in the past.
Cheryl, do you have anything you want to say?
After that, no, actually, really. My only thing I keep thinking, I'm an Audre Lordian. I told people that. It's crazy to be one, right? But no, it's not, because she said, your silence will not protect you. Ooh. And that's all I'll say.
So thinking about Actually, before we go on, I want to go back. Well, I'm going to go back to both of you for a second because I have questions as someone after watching the film. So, just a little context about me. I'm first generation Nigerian American. I'm Igbo. My family was in the Biafran War. And religion, specifically Catholicism, really still has my people in a chokehold. I can't describe it any other way. And in your film, I won't give too much away. There was a really strong, religious presence, and I kind of just want to maybe have you speak to that because there's a reverence that the characters have to that faith. And something that I've spent a lot of time doing over the past couple of years is learning about our cosmology, like Igbo cosmology, which hasn't really traveled because of the genocide, et cetera. And what does it mean to be displaced within your own cosmology and to have to attach to something by force and then do so well at it, actually, that Igbos have like largest group of Catholics in the world.
Yeah.
And so that's the one question. I'll leave that with you, Paige. And then the second thing, so Bia, when I was asking about just the impact of colonialism and whiteness and what do you confront, what do you extract in terms of the dosage, the question I have for you, or just the thing I want to explore, obviously neocolonialism, white people are the scourge, are the problem that you explore in your film. But at the same time, I didn't really see any of them in the film, which I think also was a very interesting decision because you could have more white people in that film. They could be there, but the decision to not have them there, I think, was also really interesting. And then religion also played a really big deal in your film, I felt, in terms of, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now, but Mr. Mungai, who was really trying to lead this uprising. But you find out kind of halfway through the film that he's also like a religious leader in his community. And so, again, just to thread it back, because I know I just said a bunch of things, but really just thinking about at the primary layer, how religion that has been brought to our continent by white people, how has that inserted itself and created so many different layers of issues for us. And then again, just looking at your decision to have very little white presence in the film, even though they are the main issue.
Can you hear me? It's the fatigue. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of everything. I can't keep talking about the white people and what they did to us. It's just like, I'm so introspective that the more we've talked about it, the more you're angry all the time, the more I feel like I have no agency if I have to keep talking about them. It takes away my action points. It feels like I'm this because they did this to me. So the question to me is, do I want to live my life like this? So why would I put that in our film when I'm trying to speak for myself, to stand on this ground I've been building this long? Why would I do that? They don't deserve space in this kind of film. I'm only talking about them so that there's context.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yes. It's the only reason. It's a waste of time. I'm sorry, I could go on.
No, please. That's actually what I wanted to hear because it was so intentional how little presence they had. The whiteness had to basically live in your imagination, which makes sense because it is completely a construct. It's not even a real thing.
Can I say one more thing?
Please.
Everything about this film, like I said, it's about my identity and walking away from what now I'm learning to be the truth and finding myself. And the other part of that is all of the education that we studied in school, especially those of us on the continent, is what they wrote and decided is what should be taught us. Then told the whole world that we are savages and we are monkeys and we live with giraffes and all these idiotic things that now making this film, I really have no room for that drama, for just to censor myself a little bit, because they said not to censor me. Yeah, so, and by making this film, I really love that you said that you could tell by watching the film that I am talking about these people, but I'm not showing them. And yeah, to me, that's success.
Yes.
I really felt that.
Ooh, Erica, it's such a meaty question, babes. There's a longer conversation that could be had. And honestly, it's still something that I'm exploring and trying to figure out and want to expand on in the feature version of the film. But this particular short, it's, there are moments where it might feel like a critique of religion, but that's actually not the question I'm asking. I'm more interested in what people do with religion and what religion does for them, particularly these characters. And one of the most interesting things to me, like doing research about this film, watching this documentary called Night Flight to Uli, was just like watching this Catholic procession that they were doing in the middle of the war. Does everyone know what the Biafran War is? Okay. If you don't know, one of the largest civil wars in African history, estimated 1 to 2 million deaths, but I can assure you it's more. And how it affected, like how it becomes a tool for even the kind of like bodily expression. I was so interested in their sense of like pacing, how they moved, the discipline. Is that a tool? Is that a imposed tool for repression? And especially from the teenage girl's perspective, like how it complicates this moment, right? Because then all these things like desire and shame become a part of a conversation. And that was my experience as a 10-year-old girl coming into this new country and sort of like lumping the question of survival became wrapped up in this idea of morality. And in my 10-year-old mind, like if I was good, then everything was gonna be good. And so I think I'm asking more questions than posing answers in the film about the role of religion, the role specifically of Catholicism, and how it becomes a part of their song and dance too, their daily ritual, the singing. And there's a song that they sing in the beginning and the end, and you see like this slow cracking of their confidence as they go through this film. This is a song that I grew up with. I have decided to follow Jesus, right? I love that song, sorry. But I do. No turning back, no turning back. Yeah, but it's like that song becomes like a mirror to see how their confidence in that shakes over time. So again, it's my particular interest in the short was like what people do with religion and what religion does for them.
So I want to move on and talk a little bit about what happens on set and thinking about hierarchy and reinvention. And I'm going to turn it over to the two of you just to kind of kick us off. So the question really is about being on set. It comes with inherited hierarchies. We've just talked about colonialism, whiteness. Unfortunately, that is the prism in which a lot of the filmic standards are made. And these inherited hierarchies of who speaks, who decides, who takes up space. I've heard from filmmakers, regardless of ethnicity, but if they identify as female, feeling like they need to move through a set very differently. And so I'm just curious to know, did you feel pressure to adhere to those structures? Or did you find yourselves wanting to reinvent what the experience of making something could look like?
I take pride in how we reinvented the process. I'm also the kind of person who insists on my own way of doing things. And it's complicated, yes, but because this was a film that was being made in my country, I understood the system, and that gave me power. When you're bringing in your financiers, this was the first time they made a film in Nigeria, and so I took the lead. And there is real power in that. And so the questions was how do we do this right? And we made some mistakes, by the way, because you're developing something as you go, right? But what I do feel proud of is how we really centered the local crew, always. It was like these, first of all, Nigeria has a strong, dynamic film industry of its own, Nollywood, that's been going on for about 30 years. And it's all self-financed, very commercial. People have worked very hard to educate themselves, and it's a great team. And so even just introducing this industry to the funders was the first step. And then thinking about how you integrate some international crew members with the local crew, and making sure that from the very beginning, who you're interviewing, who you're choosing to be your HOD is someone who is respectful of the land they're coming to and the ways of working, and who understands that this is a collaborative process. It goes both ways. They have to learn a lot about shooting in Lagos, right? It's its own unique ecosystem. And conversely, they will give to the local crew, and there's something so beautiful about that process. So this was something that we talked about for a long time, and that I want to keep working on in my films as we keep moving. And then the other side of it was with the cast. This film is primarily about women, and we have 7 incredible women who were very vulnerable in the process of making this work. The film is about, in some sense, sex work, and even in the writing process, I really wanted to center that reality. So I went home and did research with sex workers. We interviewed them, we hung out with them, we championed them. And what was really moving for me in the throughout was how willing and hungry they were to tell their stories, because no one had asked. No one had created the space for them, and they just really leaned in. And then when we were working with the actors, it was always about, the patriarchy is real in the country, and sets, there hasn't yet been the kind of formal training around, safe sets in Lagos. And so it's like, how do we create these programs? Because people also want to learn. This is the thing. We created, some workshops, and everyone came and they wanted to discuss and be challenged and challenge. And so we then built these rules that we all agreed we would follow as we were making this film that is about vulnerable women, asking them to be in vulnerable spaces. I really think people want to collaborate. They really do. If you create the right environment and you make asking questions not wrong, you'll be surprised by the kind of conversation and dialogue you can have and what you can build from it. And for me, it's all about that creative force. That is how I want to move through the world, right? How do you create connection, create safety, create conversation, and what can be built when you do that?
So collaboration is key for me. Breaking form is key for me. You can't do what they did before to make something different, to make change happen. So I had to label myself. So I call it the documentary, right? It's my cinema. Nobody else is doing it, it's mine. So you have to invent to make change happen. So breaking the form, I think, is the hardest thing. Because we think about these 3-act structures, and if you follow this and that, you have this kind of script. You send it out, they'll give you, this whole system. I didn't do that at the beginning, and so I was free, right? I was free as a bird, making my work. And as I got deeper and deeper into my career, it got a little weaker, right? And I think my weakest moment was doing television, I must say that. And everybody's like, I got a series, I'm gonna make a show. It's like, no, don't do that, because you're gonna be in the hardest system ever, right? You might get a few coins dropped on you, but not enough to feel fulfilled. You're hooked, you're hooked to the pill. You're hooked to the pill that created these monsters that we are fighting, So you have to see who's at those systems. And as I said on my last panel here, you have to say no. And you have to be able to say no, especially and a strong no at the beginning, and know that you might lose, but you're creating a space for something else to come in, right? So you have to get all that stuff out. And so literally television, as we are now, and the kind of, television's not where it was a couple of months ago, and I mean years ago. I mean, it just never came back, and there's no jobs, and so people are, ready to break form again, and ready to do that, and swinging the other way to the movies, and having that moment, and so people are looking outside of the box once again, and people are feeling a little bit free, making their own cinema, and I think we need to make our own cinemas. We need to rewrite it all, right? I mean, it didn't work. It didn't make us look any better. You see the numbers now of people like us in front of the camera. I don't even know who's in front of the camera anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like those people who play the game right? So you got to do your own thing to, you got to break it to, birth something. So I feel like in my new work, I'm working on several new projects. I'm not doing it, and I'm really being very psychological about, like, the money could be like there, like we'll give you everything, but it's like I don't want your everything. I have to say those opportunities, I just can't go. I know what I'll lose, and I'll lose all of you, right? And I think that's the other thing. So you have to make some decisions about that power, and you have to make decisions about how are you going to make your mark in the world? Repeating and whitening things up and black, just putting black on what is already, already out there as a storytelling, or are you going to change it? You're going to make it really different. You're going to, do something unique. So I really encourage people to think about that, think about those structures and how to kind of break away from them or not, and knowing that you need that to get to the next level. So you got to start thinking. I mean, it's just so easy to say, okay, I'm going to take that money, and money doesn't really make movies. Right?
And movies don't make it. No, I'm just kidding.
Go on, let's go.
No, they do. Let's take that back. Yeah, it's so interesting. So I would say that this film was made with an incredible group of women, many of them who are in this room. My DP was an incredible woman. My producers, it's just like creating the type of environment that would foster the type of process that we wanted to, the way we wanted to make this film. That was like really important for every single person who worked on this film. Like, who are you? What do you value? What kind of collaborator are you? But the other thing that I had to really confront was my relationship to certainty. You are faced with a million decisions in a given moment, and there's a pressure to look like you know exactly what needs to happen. And so that's hard to do when you're working with a group of Nigerian women, because I remember, and one of the things that worked in our favor was we weren't rushed into the go of production. We had like 3 days to explore the space, block, like it was really luxurious. And in that process, people could ask questions. And I remember at one point when we were trying to frame this scene where they all like pray, and I was like, okay, you guys are gonna sit on chairs, and they were like, what? Like, as an Igbo Catholic person, like, no, we're gonna be on our knees. And there were several moments like that where it was like, this idea of a top-down director who makes like definitive decisions and does this a certain way was just like, that was not, I curated people around me who would tell me the truth. Even to the moment of points where I'm like, I'm the director, like what's going on here? And so it was really incredible to work with a group of women who were truth tellers, who were collaborators, and to give myself also the permission to say like, hey, yeah, you're the director, but you can also listen and truly be collaborative. And on the other side of that, I think something that we face as women is the fear of being certain and saying like, actually, no, I know what I want in this scene. I know what I want to do with this shot. And so there were times as well where I was like, I had to allow my conviction to lead me and to say, no, I actually feel a really strong conviction about this and I want to do it this way. So it was kind of a two-sided coin.
Yeah, and I'll add too about my sets, especially on Stranger Inside, which is my second feature that I made with HBO. Yolanda Ross was the star. You can't see it, because HBO won't let it out of their archives. All right, they won't let it out because there were too many of us in the film, and the contracts don't work. So you can't see it. My you know, the movie that I wrote, directed about women in prison and mother-daughter union set there. It showed a bit on HBO, blah, 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 but it sits in, the 35 millimeter film sits in their vaults. And we can't get it out, right? So, but the film had all women or queer people as keys. A woman, I was very intentional about what I wanted and how I wanted my set to be run. I wanted the time to rehearse with Yolanda and the woman Davina who played her mother in the film. I really wanted to have that, and I got it. So once you have that kind of conviction, once you know, you are with your family and you're telling people, it's okay, you can be, you're the head of this department, okay. People will go along and they'll bring you all that in. So, just know that you have to, again, have that conviction, but definitely make your sets look like you. Yeah. I think that's really important. Make your sets look like you.
Curious if you had anything you wanted to add, because I know that you co-directed the film
Yes.
with, can I say?
Yeah.
With a white man.
Yeah, yeah.
I just had
Absolutely. Here's the thing. Okay. So I work a lot with Nat Geo for their documentaries or whatever, Disney in Kenya. That's what I do for, you got to have something that pays the bills. That's what pays the bills in Nairobi, but I love storytelling. So I met Andrew on one of those sets called Andrew Brown. We met on one of those sets. But the thing about him, and the reason why I wanted to work with him, is he'd done a previous film called Between the Rains. And this one was, they were filming in the middle of, I imagine everybody knows the Maasais of Kenya. In the bush of the bush of the bush, where there's no bush anymore, where, that's where he was filming. And you have water once a week, the food is scarce, his per diem is what's feeding whoever he's filming with. And when I saw his film, it interested me that I had met somebody white and was willing to sit with our families out there. It interested me that he allowed himself to the fact that I was producing this thing, and that was that, and no questions. This is what you're doing, this is what you're doing. I'm taking, I have full agency, and he was not arguing with things, and I wasn't used to that. It's usually the other way around. They bring all their HODs, they bring all of everybody from everywhere else, but never in Kenya. And here I am in Nairobi being producer and deciding, actually, don't bring your DP and don't bring your, I've got this and this and this here in Nairobi. And I saw him work with the DPs I'd chosen, because he specifically had been picked by Disney. So I couldn't find that. I wasn't on the contract, because there's the contract and then there's everything else. So. And then we began, over lunch, you're having conversations. I don't like proud and arrogant sets. I like to lead with humility, because then that becomes the theme of the whole production. How you are is how things are going to be. So I found him to be someone who would work with other people. Not just me, because then there are those who are good to you because you're the head, but they are trash to everybody else. So I saw how he treated our drivers and how he treated the guys who are cleaning our vehicles and how the guys who open gates at 4 a.m. when you're leaving for whatever wildlife shoot you're going for. And we talked for 3 years. I'd known this man for a long time, and I saw how he treated his people. He's indigenous as well here in America. So I saw his relationship with his people. So And selfishly, if I'm 1,000% honest, I wanted to make this film, and didn't want it for the village. And I'd seen who he'd worked with. And I know this sounds transactional, but I don't care. I wanted to make this film, and I wanted it to travel. And he was willing to help me. That's another rare thing.
Right. People, whiteness who knows that they have that whiteness and you can use it, right?
Yeah.
We used to push out my girlfriend who was white at one point in my life to get the cabs. Because they won't pick us up, so we just go on and get the cab for us. Hey, everybody,
Yeah.
get the cab and then we all get in, right? So it's like you know how to use whiteness.
Yeah. And then I understand what the meaning of the word reparations is. I said, this is my chance.
Well, I think this is a great segue actually to the larger question that I had. Well, I'll say one, I'm just going to share an observation, then I'll go into that question. But I think when all of you are talking about your sets, you know, I think most of us here probably understand that, you know, speed, perfection are all about whiteness, right? I feel like when we're doing things, when we're making things, going slower, asking questions, making space is more, you know, from our culture. And so it was really beautiful hearing those reflections come forward, because it's just so, it's so in friction with how you're taught to approach, you know, crewing up and doing, it's like pace, it's intensity, and it's just an observation to know that you both, all of you are moving with a certain kind of softness and a certain kind of curiosity that I think has made all of your work so powerful. But then I think going to this piece about using whiteness or understanding it, and I think this might be interesting to everyone that's here. Let's talk about fundraising. Let's talk about collaborators, right? Because I think that there has to always be strategy, right? And understanding who are the strategic players. And I think I loved how you just explained why you chose him, because you knew attaching him would create more, you know, bandwidth for the film. And also I think what was beautiful about how you talked about it is you studied him for a while. You really sussed him out to be like, okay, I think this is okay to do it with this person. And I feel like I'm sure some people in this room are maybe in a similar situation where there is one person that doesn't look like them that you know that could help get your thing where it needs to be. So would just love just collectively, like, how did you go about choosing producers, fundraising, like what has that experience been like?
I want to say that we also have to allow for complexity of everybody, right? So there are terrible white people and there are decent white people. And it's about finding where you can, decent people. I really feel that. There are some people on the set in Nigeria, like the Nigerian industry also has its own terrible people. Do you know what I mean? So, and because I live in that context, power is power is power. Yep. That's what I would say. So about finding funders, it's about finding people who want to support your process and who are, and I think we have to be, to your point, Cheryl, we have to be brave enough to speak our process. Because I think sometimes we enter into relationships without being upfront about what it is we want, and then are surprised when we don't get it later on, right? So you have to say it up front and be brave enough to hear a no and decide what to do with that. But to your point, I think people are curious. I do think there's a curiosity about new processes, and I think if we're intentional and smart, we can find collaborators who are willing to come on this journey with us, and we have to lead with courage, you know, and with conviction, and people will follow.
So we're going to open it up for Q&A now. I'm not sure how this is going to work. Are we miking people as they ask questions?
We're going to start here
Okay.
with Shay right here.
Okay.
And then I'll pass the mic around for anyone who has questions.
Okay, great.
So go ahead and introduce yourself, okay?
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Oluwa Shay. You can call me Shay for short. And I, first of all, thank you for sharing your stories, for sharing your films, and sort of talking us through the process. It's been an honor to sort of sit and listen to the behind the scenes that we didn't get to see, but get a glimpse of here in this conversation. I am a research and program consultant for the World Bank, and I work with the edutainment team. And so far, it's been an incredible experience to sort of be in a space where people look like me. And sort of also hearing stories from places that I'm also familiar with, Nigeria, Kenya as well. So it's a pleasure. My question is coming from a place of where creativity meets storytelling meets impact. You all have created incredible bodies of work and have been sharing them with us, glimpses, and pointing us to go watch the bigger body of the work. And I'm very curious on the question of perspectives and what meaningful engagement from your audience, what does that actually look like? Again, you're creating a body of work that gets seen by a diverse array of people. So what does engagement and meaningful engagement specifically look like for you?
So so Kikuyu is a feature documentary, and we work with women who work in the plantations owned by organizations like Unilever or Limtons, and are doing really bad, in terms of making a living. And this is a community we worked with, so they're like family to us now. The biggest thing with our impact campaign is to make sure that every time we screen the film or however the journey of this film benefits them. We've created a website with all of that information, how to easily donate if you so wish. If you like to visit the families, or I don't know, any kind of way that support can come for them. It's all on our website on Kikuyu land. And then we're going to be screening the film. I know it's risky, but we're definitely going to be screening the film in Kenya for people to see, because we want to start with ourselves. Yes, we're here. Yes, it's going to be in Europe, but the most important for me is our people to see the film, be introspective, do your part. That's what I hope happens by screening across the country.
I think community is a big part of the future of distribution. And we have to start thinking about that differently, like not just audiences, but communities and people who support, empower their own communities. And I think one of the most beautiful things about seeing this premiere here is just how supportive everyone has been about your film and talking about it and coming. So for me, meaningful engagement looks like, it's so funny, like in the process of making this film, I think people make assumptions about the intelligence of your audience. And it always touches me so deeply, because I really wanted to make a film that didn't feel like it was over-explaining itself and patronizing my audience and externalizing for the sake of, feeding this insecurity that people just wouldn't understand it. It's been really beautiful. I actually cried today because I read something that someone wrote about the film, and they just got it. And I think for me, I don't know if it's directly answering your question, but it's that feedback loop of when you believe in your audience and it pays off, because they really do see what you're doing. Yeah.
I would love people to see the film. You see it, more get made. It's really very simple. And from, I am hopeful about Nigerian and African cinema. What I want is for us to continue to make films on the global stage. And for the industry to understand that there is an audience, a hungry audience for our films, which I'm so surprised to hear that they still don't understand that. So if people see Lady, I get to make another film, you get to make another film, we all get to make our films. It's really very straightforward, and it's about economic empowerment at the end of the day. When people are empowered, then they can make their own decisions. And I think it's a trickle-down effect. So please share. Please go see the film. It's for all of us. It really is.
Do we have a couple more questions? You can speak loudly, yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Allison Janae Hamilton, director. It's so lovely to hear from y'all. Since I've been here over the weekend, I've been having a lot of really great conversations with other, directors, writers, everybody, about life outside of the industry. And I'm really curious for y'all, like, what parts of life are inspiring you right now or influencing you? Like, what are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you watching? What are your, guilty pleasures? Or what are you up to that sort of impact what you're thinking about? Maybe even when you were making your films, or just any parts of life. Like, me, I'm Black woman, queer mother. Like, there's all these parts of ourselves that we bring to the table. So yeah, I'm curious about that. Like, just the rest of your life and how it's inspiring you or influencing what you're doing.
So I just finished a novel. Right? It's hard to read in these moments. So I just finished a short novel. No, I didn't write it, but I finished reading it. No, not yet. No. Reading. It's called reading. I know you want the book to come out, so it will be. But I will be writing that soon after this. You're ready for it, because it's not yet. It's coming. But I read Gail Jones. Does anybody know the writer Gail Jones at all? Ava's Man. Ooh. A woman, she won't talk to people still now, right? As a woman who wrote this novel, she won't talk to, white people really. She won't do anything. Her novel has, she wrote Corregidora, she wrote Butter, a collection of short stories, and it opened me up to this whole power of language and thought process. She has 3 storylines coming in, you have to read to understand where it's coming from, and it just popped me open to how I can seamlessly kind of use that in some of the writing that I'm doing. So Gail Jones just changed the world for me about that. And you need I didn't think I could finish a novel in a week. But I did, and I'm reading more. I'm reading all her books. So I think that's something that's really important, is have go back to your practices that you had before, or you let go because you're working so hard on your project. It keeps me remembering and keeps me innovative. The words on the page are different than the images on the screen. So, and I'm also trying to paint and draw a little bit. Because really, it's like a circle and a face with some eyes, at that point. But I'm trying to figure out other things. So I need to make music. I need to get outside of the image. The image is very powerful, but it's influenced by all these other things. So I keep up all your outside stuff. Is really important.
I love this question. I love romance, highbrow, lowbrow, movie, film, period, all of it. There's just kind of, I think when I started making films and sort of, looking at all my inspirations and learning about the craft, I was just it was getting really dark, you know what I mean? It was so deep and so serious. And over the last 10 years, I've just taken a lot of that pressure off of myself, and I love seeing things that have a sense of levity and joy, and even if it's laced with some kind of sorrow and sweetness. So that's just been really making me happy, and has also kind of influenced how I see my work too. I want to play with forms that make me happy. It's why I love, films that just have a romantic language, even if it's not about a love story. Nature has been a big part of that for me. It was such a luxury to make this film, and with the landscapes, and we just had so much fun and pain shooting this in the Appalachian Mountains. But yeah, that's been a big source of joy for me. And my son, he's 2. And it's just incredible to watch him budding as a little human, and all of the micro and macro dramas of learning how to be a human being in this world is so fascinating.
We have time for one more question. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Holland. I'm an aspiring filmmaker and podcaster, co-host of Sisters Who Watch with my sister Shelby. Yes. Yeah. Yes, we review TV and film, so thank you all for being here. And I have a lot of ideas, like I have things I want to create, and I think for Black women, it can be very intimidating to get started in the industry and to break in. So my question is, how do you get started, and like what advice you have for aspiring directors to, get their projects going?
I would say just start. I know it sounds so simple, but truly, especially now, you can make a film for not very much money. You know, I think flex the muscle, teach yourself, grow, and you are a filmmaker if you are making films. Right. You know, you are a writer if you are writing. And I think every time you do it more, and you put it out in the world, you know, it will reach people, especially now. So the fear is real, I get it. Like, it took me 9 years to really kind of commit to film. And once I started, I just knew I couldn't stop. And that kind of really just propelled me forward. So just start.
I would just quickly add to that. Just make your first bad film and get it over with. You
Yes,
know,
agreed.
Rip off the Band-Aid. I think sometimes we're so crippled by the fear of not being good.
Right.
And I've learned that's actually not what filmmaking is. And I think women feel that pressure even more because we have so little opportunities to make films that we feel like every film we make has to be. And just like, make a bad film, learn, move on, fail fast.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I when I teach, or I used to teach, I would say start small, make a short, and complete it. Put it down, make another short. Complete it. You have to get to completion. You could have that, because I meet people, I have this script I've been working on for years. And it's not, you know, like you can't be that person anymore. Finish it, put a dot on it, and make another, write another one. Make a song, sing it, boom, move on. Like, and then what you have is a body of work. And then you say, I'm a filmmaker with a body of work. You can see how I progressed. And you also can't say that I'm a budding this or that. I am in development, okay? I am in, researching, change the language, because you're believing your own limitations. Like, if you don't believe, who else is gonna believe? So you have to believe yourself that you are doing the thing and show up where you need to be. We showed up in this room.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. We showed up in this room. That means we know where we need to be. We need to be around each other to make that work. So you show up at every Black woman, Zoom boom, I don't even know what it is.
Zoom boom.
Zoom boom. Zoom boom, whatever. I'm making up words, but you show up at these places because that's where people like you are. And then you just keep showing up. And then they're like, oh, I know you. Boom, boom.
Okay, so sorry, I lied to y'all. We got 2 more questions because the ladies keep giving me eyes over there. Okay, in the red, we got you. And then last, who was in the front? Jadena, okay. Go ahead.
My name is Joyce. I'm a film scholar, and I'm always interested in like the number of materials, like historical materials about African film that is available in the United States and it's not available back home, in Nigeria, in Kenya, wherever. And I'm also thinking about the fact that we're sitting here in a place where, like, we're in North America right now, or showcasing this film to an audience that we might consider global. And so I wonder, what are your plans in terms of distribution and ensuring that this archive leaves this space and goes back home?
Of course. I mean, it has to play at home. And it was made so audiences at home would love it. That was always integral to the process. So there is distribution in Nigeria. Again, there's a rich industry in the country, and they are showing work. I think, if I'm frank, it's also about an appreciation from the country for this work too, right? Because there is desire. So it goes both ways, and you understand the cultural implications of what I'm saying. But 100%, when I say a global stage, Nigeria is on the global stage. This is my point. It's not a separate. It's not a separate world, right? And so people will see it.
Last question.
My name is Jadena. I'm a recording artist by trade and a filmmaker in development. You like that? You know what I mean? Thank you, Praise, for inviting me to the Birdie family and Noni. It's a pleasure and an honor to be at my first Sundance. And it's been a blessing to hear all of your stories. I'm taking it in. I'm taking notes. I have one last question, building on the last question, actually. When we talk about global stage, as members of the Black diaspora or continental Africans, what is the global stage to you? What is that really when you talk about Black stories? And how do you make decisions on the ground, on set, in regards to who's going to watch the film? Specifically, there's 2 of you are based on the continent and 2 are in the diaspora, 3, right? If I may be wrong, so correct me if I am. When you're on set, are you thinking, oh, I want to reach Black Americans? I want to reach Caribbean Americans. I want to reach people in the UK. Are you thinking, as a first-gen African, oh, I want somebody in Nigeria or Kenya to respond, or Liberia to respond to this film? How do you make that decision? It's a decision I'm facing as a filmmaker. It's a decision that I've faced in music. I remember talking to Burna and Tiwa and Easy and Wiz early in the careers, talking about whether or not they put Pigeon in the chorus. And then Yeah, Yeah, Yeah comes out, right? And you see the crossover hits, what's in the chorus and what's in the verse. How does that play in filmmaking? And do you even think about that, right?
I think about it all the time. I think about how limiting it is to be here in trying to figure it out, and how important it is to be there. And wherever that's going to be, it could be, Taiwan, it could be, wherever you want it to be, but we need to get out. A lot of Black American filmmakers, African American, whatever we're gonna call ourselves, we never leave. We never leave this comfort zone, discomfort zone, whatever we're gonna call it, but we have to get out. And then you'll realize, like, wow, I'm an ambassador of cinema. This is this one small story, and I need to, so once I learned that when I was out on the road with the Watermelon Woman, because I was being like South. She went everywhere. She's 30 years old now. She went everywhere. And I was like, that gave me agency, global agency. I need to make another. You know what I'm saying? And I got hungry for being included in a part of the world. I don't know what else to do now, because cinema is my passport to everybody, So I continually think about my work. I put it in my music. I put it in, how I think about score. I watch all different kinds of cinema, from Japanese cinema, from silent movies, everything. And there's something there. The camera positioning, the lens, the color, the toning, and see how other people run their crew. It's so great to see work on Ava DuVernay's Queen Sugar. Anybody remember that? Queen Sugar? I just want to acknowledge there's some Queen Sugar folks in the room. There's another Queen Sugar director, Bola. There we go. Okay, so we have, right? She only chose women directors with intention. She had women DPs. She had, she made some intentional things that I think all of us have taken on to what we're doing again and again and again. So I think, and giving women the opportunity. Those 35 women are like all over the place from that moment. So you have to kind of then start practicing what you preach, and putting that in how you make it, and importing people from all over the place to make those marks, and to learn how to, again, my wife is from Tijuana, Mexican, and I'm proud. I want to be Mexican so bad. I want to be from right? I want to be from anywhere, but where, we are right now, right? So I want to be on a spaceship. Like, I could be, what I'm saying? Like, so I really want to, it's endless, but you have to, again, just think about the bigger picture than yourselves, and make sure that you're putting something in there that engages with a lot of folks. It can't be just satisfying one audience, because you want everybody, this is for everybody, but it's for us especially, right? You get your little things in there, but you need to make sure it's for everybody, because again, you don't know. Like, we all have something that connects us, right? And so you want to make sure that we do that. Respect that.
I think it definitely starts in the writing.
putting yourself honestly and squarely in the writing in the real way, and allowing the whatever you're writing to be a mirror of yourself and your actual experiences. But it's interesting that you asked about specifically in the production process, because one of the interesting things that I noticed when people were auditioning for one of the characters, who's a middle-aged Nigerian woman, was I watched like Nigerian actors audition with Nigerian accents, if you know what I mean. And I was like, wow, it's really interesting how we've, but seriously, it's really interesting how we've taken on this externalized version of who we are and internalized that. And part of the process of my film was making sure that at every moment we were staying true to who they were and making it very clear, like, this is the type of film that we're making. And I think that's what resonates. People actually can see themselves, not a version of themselves that, this sort of, in an attempt to reach global audiences, that, this kind of version of African identity or Nigerian identity that's been created. And that was surprising to me because it was actually harder than I expected it to be. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry, we gotta wrap it up, y'all.
We have 6 more minutes on the timer. We know we gotta go.
We gotta clear this room in 10 minutes.
You got it. Okay.
So, but I don't want to end the conversation and the building of community. We want to invite everyone who's here, who RSVP, to come with us across the street to Grub Steak. We have a mixer, we have drinks and food, and come talk to the filmmakers, come talk to me. We'd love to have you. I want to everyone give a round of applause to all of the filmmakers. Thank you, Erica, for being such an incredible host.